Hello guys and girls, and welcome back to another episode of SebTalksSports. That intro at the top was created by All-Pro New York Giants running back, now music creator, and friend of the show, David Wilson. Go and check him out on his social media platforms at 4StillRunning on Twitter and Instagram, and his music under David E. Wilson across all good music streaming services. He's available for business, so hit him up if you're looking for some beats for your podcast. Before I get into this episode, I just want to say that if you're not already following SebTalksSports across all platforms, then please do. You can find me on Facebook, SebTalksSports, YouTube, SebTalksSports, Twitter at SebTalksSports, and Instagram where I'm primarily active, again, at SebTalksSports. Today I've got another very special guest, one of the greatest NFL analysts in the world, NFL Network's very own Brian Baldinger. Enjoy! My guest today is a 12-year NFL veteran offensive lineman who played for the Dallas Cowboys, Indianapolis Colts, and Philadelphia Eagles. One of the greatest football analysts in the world and an NFL Network icon. It's an absolute honour to welcome Brian Baldinger to SebTalksSports. Baldy, how are you today?
I'm good, Sebastian. I'm always in a mood to talk some football here. I'm actually at NFL Films here in Mount Laurel, New Jersey. I've been studying Aaron Rodgers from 2011. And I'm just kind of admiring just how sensational he was. He's still the highest quarterback rating of all time in any given year in over 100 years of the NFL. And it was just one sensational laser throw after another. So I'm just here kind of fooling around, having some fun.
Thank you very much for coming on. So if we go right back to the beginning, I know you played a lot of a variety of sports growing up. So what are your earliest memories of either playing or watching sport? And how did you end up falling into the position of being an offensive lineman?
Well, you don't really start out playing sports thinking about playing the offensive line. You kind of end up there, you know. But my dad was in the military. My dad was an All-American football player at Navy. Was a Marine. Was a pilot in the Marines. Coach at the Naval Academy with Steve Belichick. So, you know, for my earliest memories, I remember watching football with my dad. You know, maybe 6 years old, probably playing. Well, definitely playing in the street and playing in the backyard and all that stuff. You know, when I was 7, 8, having a catch with my dad, throwing the football around with my two brothers at some point. And then all my friends all played. You know, we all played touch football or flag football just growing up. And that probably moved on to Pop Warner's at probably sometime around age 10 or 11. Probably the first time I ever really played organized football. But actually, just growing up, Sebastian, I played every sport. I played baseball. I played basketball. I played tennis. I loved ping pong. I mean, I probably played sports every day of my life growing up, you know, one or another.
Yeah, fantastic. Okay, so you represent a very unique figure in NFL history in that you played alongside your two brothers in the league, Rich and Gary, and you even played with Gary on the Colts, sort of in the back end of the 80s. So as the first family to have three brothers playing in the league alongside each other, and then until TJ Watt got drafted by the Steelers, how did it feel to share that experience with your brothers? And most importantly, who held the bragging rights most of the time?
Well, my youngest brother, Gary, he deserves the bragging rights. He was the youngest, so he took a lot of abuse from me and my brother Richard growing up. And then he ended up playing on two of the Super Bowl teams of the Buffalo Bills, 4 in a row. And he was on the team for the third. He just wasn't active Super Bowl Sunday. But, you know, he was part of those great teams at Buffalo. He backed up Jeff Wright at nose tackle, but played alongside Bruce Smith. Had a bunch of tackles against the Giants in Super Bowl 25 down in Tampa. We were all in the front row for that one, 1990. It was fun, Sebastian. Honestly, it was you know, me and my brother Richard, we came in the league in 1982 together. I was with the Cowboys and he was with the Giants. And we probably talked after every single game that we played in for probably a dozen years. My youngest brother Gary's coming down to see a place of mine in Florida. He's bringing all his kids down this weekend, so I'm excited about that. I think football always kind of bonded us, and it still does. We're still, my brother Richard's still involved in football. He's a college football analyst, does a lot of stuff for the Chiefs Was excited for him this year when the Chiefs, won their first Super Bowl since, in 50 years. So it's been a big moment he still lives in Kansas City. Big moment for him and big moment for the Chiefs.
Absolutely. So, I mean, I could sit here for hours and just reel off the list of players you've played with and against during your time in the NFL, just sort of like just a list of Hall of Famers that could go on forever, including Randy White, who I'll get to in a little bit. But who would you say is the best player you've ever played with in the NFL? And as an offensive lineman, who was the hardest defensive end to ever come at you?
Well, I just put together the list for the NFL last week, as a matter of fact. The top 5 teammates that I ever had. And I think I can, in order, I think I went Reggie White, Randy White, Eric Dickerson, Tony Dorsett, all 4 of those in the Hall of Fame, and Ray Donaldson, who was the center when I was in Indianapolis for 4 years, played next to him for 4 years at guard, took over for him 1 year at center when he got hurt. Only time he's ever been hurt, but he played 17 years. He was as good as any offensive lineman I ever played with, and he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. Won a Super Bowl with the Cowboys. But I'd say that's the order. I think, anytime you had to go up against Lawrence Taylor, I played against him when I was in college. Played against him when I was in Dallas, and he was with the Giants, and then Indianapolis. I mean, he was the best. Interiorly, though, there was a lot of players inside. I mean, Big Hands Johnson from the Chargers, and if I go to, Eric Swan was a handful when he was with the Cardinals. I mean, he was just as big and strong as anybody I ever played against, and mean too. So, I mean, the list could go on and on for this entire program, really, Sebastian.
Very nice. Okay, so let's talk about coaches quickly. You had the pleasure of playing under some of the greatest players or greatest head coaches ever, such as, Hall of Famer and 2-time Super Bowl champion Tom Landry with your time at the Cowboys. How much did you learn from Mr. Landry, and how much did what he taught you as a player continue to affect your work today?
He was a sensational coach, Sebastian. I tell people all the time, it's hard to believe. But on Mondays, after a win or a loss, the entire team went into a film room, and Coach Landry went through every single play, offense, defense, and special teams. Wow. He was the only coach that talked. It was a 3-hour film session, and I don't care if you beat Seattle 35-3, you felt like you lost. It was always something to learn. He was just an amazing coach. He was organized. He knew offense. He knew defense. He was there in Green Bay for a long time with Vince Lombardi. They competed against each other as coordinators. Of course, they all went their separate ways. I'm sorry, from the New York Giants. They were there together with the Giants. Of course, Vince went on to Green Bay and Landry went on to Dallas roughly about the same time. And so I feel like Coach Landry couldn't help but make you a better player. He wanted to make you a better player, a better person. Just the way you handle yourself in public, how you traveled, how, representing the Dallas Cowboys with him as a head coach. It was done with class. I think he helped me off the field as much as he helped me on the field, just being really disciplined. I mean, even at the very end of his career, he was the best shape of any coach I ever played with. I mean, he didn't have an ounce of body fat on him. He worked out every day. He really took care of himself. He really presented himself really well. He understood that he was the message. We all looked up to him.
Yeah. Okay, so I am a Jaguars fan. I don't know if you can see behind. And it's fair to say we've had our fair share of struggles over the course of the last decade, apart from that 2017 season. So I want to know from you, how much do you believe in Gardner Minshew, and what are your current views on the state of our organization and the future it holds?
Well, it's hard to believe that, just 2 years ago, Sebastian, they were, had a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter of the AFC Championship game. And it almost seems like, from Telvin Smith retirement to Jalen Ramsey and A.J. Bouye moving on. Just Calais Campbell moving on. Just the heart of that football team, of that team right there defensively, which was amongst the league's best then, is gone. And so it's a rebuild project for Doug Marrone. And, it seems like he's changed his offensive coaches over and over again. But I like what I saw from Gardner Minshew. I liked his leadership. I liked his accuracy. I liked his toughness. I liked when he was benched and came back, how he performed. Look, Nick Foles, it just didn't work out, injury-wise, health-wise, from the first game against the Kansas City Chiefs, getting hurt like that. But, that's what this league is built on. Trent Green got hurt one year, and Kurt Warner took over, and next thing you know, it's the greatest show on turf, and Kurt is in the Hall of Fame. I mean, you don't know until you get the opportunity. I like what I saw from Gardner. So the offensive line has to continue to stay strong. They're rebuilding the receiving core. They're in a tough division. They're just in a tough division. Philip Rivers in the division right now. Deshaun Watson's in the division. Right now, Ryan Tannehill was the highest rated quarterback in the league last year in his, 11, 12 starts with Tennessee. So, Gardner Minshew is the youngest quarterback in that division, the most inexperienced. And so, look, he's going to be looking up at, I think, 3 really good quarterbacks right now.
No, I completely agree. Okay, so we saw on the NFL 100 team recently just the sort of sheer depth and talent the NFL has produced over the last century. But as an analyst, who would you say is your favourite player to analyse both in the past and at present?
Well, I think I'll start with the present. I mean, it's impossible. I'm on the 3rd floor of NFL Films here, Sebastian. It's where I've quarantined myself every single day during this pandemic. But, I mean, it's basically where I live. And, any given day I could put Patrick Mahomes on. Yeah. And he I don't care how many times you watch these throws, they just keep wowing you. You never get tired of watching him play football. I mean, he's the single greatest talent in this league right now, and maybe the best young talent we've ever seen. I mean, I saw Dan Marino when he came into the league in 1983, saw him beat us when I was in Dallas in 1984, and Dan Marino wowed you. And he still does. You put on, tape from the 80s and early 90s. I mean, Marino could do that. But Patrick Mahomes right now is just a player that you just can't stop watching. If I had to go back and watch a player, I mean, watching Darrelle Revis in 2009, I don't know that anybody ever played any position better than Darrelle Revis did in 2009. I mean, he took on the league's best receivers, Andre Johnson, Ocho Cinco, I mean, Reggie Wayne. I go through a list of every receiver that he just completely shut down. And it was in a way that we've really never seen anybody shut anybody down. And that's not to take away from Charles Woodson, who was the MVP that year, because he was sensational too. Or what Deion had done, in all of his time in the NFL. I mean, but Darrelle Revis, he was my favorite player in the league back then. I always learned something from Darrelle. And so, I mean, those are 2 guys off the top of my head to answer your question.
Yeah, I can't really. I mean, Darrelle Revis was the shutdown corner of shutdown corners in that 2009 season. Just an incredible talent. Okay, so I want to quickly move to your broadcasting career. You've been broadcasting for no fewer than 23 years now, and you continue to provide excellent analysis on NFL Network and NFL Total Access, of course. What is it you truly love about broadcasting that's made you want to do it for nearly a quarter of a century now?
Well, it's the closest thing that I could find, Sebastian, that of playing the game. I mean, nothing replaced playing the game for anybody. I mean, everybody kind of struggles a little bit. But I found, man, game days to me, honestly, I wake up every Saturday or Sunday, whether I'm doing a college game or an NFL game for national radio or college game for Fox Sports. And first thing I do when I open my eyes, it's game day. That feeling is just it's special. And then the whole preparation, getting ready, getting dressed, getting to the stadium, getting down on the field before a game. I love spending time down the field before the game. College games are different than the NFL game, whether it's the band, the cheerleaders, the student body at some of these stadiums. But then the NFL, a chance to go down there and catch up, let's say, with Khalil Mack 3 hours before kickoff when he's going through his, pregame ritual.
Yeah.
A chance to talk to Patrick Mahomes 3 hours before kickoff when he's just down there sitting on a bench being just a regular old Joe, talking to the trainers and the fullbacks and, some of the video guys for the Chiefs, where you could really just enjoy, some time learning something about, not necessarily picking the brain about the game, but just learn something about the week, the preparation, the team, the game, what it meant. Those days, those times right now, Sebastian, are infinitely special, and I never take them for granted. And I just feel like game days in a booth talking about football, it never, ever gets old for me. It always feels special to me.
I love to hear that. Okay, so we're just about to enter the 2020 season, depending on how things turn out with the pandemic. And while the league is ever changing, who, in your opinion, are the current favourites in both the AFC and the NFC? And who would win your dream Super Bowl matchup next February in Tampa?
Well, I can't go against the Super Bowl 54 champs, the Kansas City Chiefs. They bring back almost the same team that won the Super Bowl, and they're bringing back the Super Bowl MVP and the best player in the league.
Yeah.
And so Patrick Mahomes is going to really play with the same offense that he's been playing with. Tyreek Hill and Travis Henry, and Travis Kelce and, Tyreek and Sammy Watkins. I mean, they're all coming back, and I think they've improved. At running back, they got a great player at the end of the first round from LSU. I like the Chiefs. I like the Chiefs. I'm sure that the Ravens are going to give it everything they got to compete with them. And, if they had beaten Tennessee, maybe that would have been a great game. They've played each other right now, 2 years in a row, and they've been great games between Baltimore and Kansas City. So, those would be my two favorite in the AFC right now. In the NFC, look, San Francisco just took an unbelievable blow this week when they lost Deebo Samuel.
Yeah, of course.
To a broken fifth metatarsal, a Jones fracture. He's going to miss the whole offseason here in preseason. Now, maybe he's ready to go week one. I don't know that yet. I'm not sure. But that's a big blow considering they already lost Emmanuel Sanders.
Yeah.
So, but I still like the 49ers. I still love the way they run the ball. I like their defensive front. So I'll still take the 49ers. And look, I don't know. I mean, can the Cowboys under Mike McCarthy really play up to their talent level? Their talent says offensively they should be much better than what they have been, especially at the end of key games. So I know in Philadelphia here, that would really tick off a lot of people. I said the Cowboys and the 49ers right now, but I'll take the Cowboys and the 49ers right now. I think that Mike McCarthy can get the best out of Dak Prescott right now with a really talented offense.
Okay, and then of those four teams, who do you think is most likely to win? Do you think still Chiefs or another team?
I'll still well, you know what? Look, I'll say that it's hard to repeat. We've seen that. You know, the Patriots were the last team to do that in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
But I'll take the Ravens. I mean, I think the Ravens are stacked. And I think Lamar Jackson, even though he was one of only two unanimous MVPs in the league, Tom Brady in 2010 and Lamar in 2019, I think Lamar can get better. I think his deep ball accuracy to Hollywood Brown and others can get better, and I think he's worked on it this offseason. And I think I'll take the Ravens. I'll take the Ravens as a team to win this Super Bowl. They got close last year, best regular season team, but obviously they've been disappointing at home back-to-back years in the playoffs. But I say they get over the hurdle this year.
Okay, there you go. Heard it here first. Okay, so the beauty of the NFL, obviously, is that teams can go from the depths of the league to becoming contenders the very next year. We've seen it in recent years with obviously the Rams and the 49ers just going from absolute zeros to heroes. Who do you think will be the biggest shock this coming season? Who's gonna be the dark horse in the NFL, and who do you think could shock people and make it to the Super Bowl?
Well, I mean, it's hard to bet against Tom Brady doing anything, you know. So I like what Tampa's doing. I like Bruce Arians as a person. I like him as a coach. I love his staff. I've known his staff. Most of his staff has been with him since he was at Temple. Either they played for him at Temple or they coached with him. I mean, Todd Bowles and Kevin Ross and, the guys that just love Bruce Arians. And I think their defense is really coming on. They showed that the last 6 weeks last year. I like what Tampa's doing. I like what Arizona's doing. I think Arizona's going to give people a lot of problems. I love Kyler Murray. I loved him at Oklahoma. I loved him last year as the hands-down rookie of the year. And most players take their biggest jump between the first and the second year. And if Kyler Murray does that, then the Arizona Cardinals, along with DeAndre Hopkins and Larry Fitzgerald and Kenyon Drake and an improved offensive line, I think the Cardinals can make a big jump this year.
Okay, so I know you get this question a lot, but I have to ask. The finger. So you've got a heavily mutilated finger from your time playing on the O-line. There it is. Wow.
Yeah.
And that was in the face mask of Randy White. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, it was in it wasn't the face mask. It was in his pads.
Oh, okay.
Just grabbing them. It was, we were at practice, Thousand Oaks, and guys weren't wearing the tight jerseys in practice and got caught up between his shoulder pad and his jersey. Ooh. And, it just got jerked right out of the joint. And, I was able to put it back in the joint, but it never really went back to its original form. And so it was like a badge of honor. I never got it fixed. I felt like I joined the bad pinky club and the bad finger club that a lot of NFL players share. and it's my, it's my badge of honor, Sebastian.
Nice. How often do you get asked from people to see it if you're out in public or that kind of thing?
Well, today was the first time today, but usually daily, Sebastian. You kept up the streak of every single day. Somebody asked me about it, so I appreciate that from you.
Okay, perfect. I just want to ask you some quick fire questions quickly. You ready?
Yep.
Fantastic. Okay, so what's your favorite takeout meal?
I can't eat pizza in a box. I'll probably say I could eat ribs every single day of my life, so I'll say baby back ribs.
Nice. Can't go wrong with that. Okay, so dogs or cats?
Oh, dogs all the way.
Dogs. Twitter or Instagram?
Bigger dogs rather than smaller dogs.
Twitter or Instagram? Social media.
Twitter's been good to me. Most people have kind of a love-hate relationship. I love Twitter.
Beatles or Stones?
Oh, gosh, I never saw the Beatles live, but I see the Rolling Stones a bunch. I saw them last in Cuba 3 or 4 years ago. I'll take the Stones.
Stones, okay. Favorite sports film of all time?
Brian Song.
Okay.
Brian Song. In fact, it was just the 50th year anniversary, I think, of Brian Piccolo's death. My brothers went to Wake Forest, where Brian Piccolo went to school. And I think I've shed a tear every time I've watched Brian Song. Who,
in your opinion, is the greatest quarterback of all time?
I fell in love with Johnny Unitas when I was a little kid. I know I wore 19. I knew I loved him wearing the horseshoes. I played for the Colts. I'd have to say he's from Pittsburgh. I'm from Pittsburgh. I'll say Johnny Unitas.
And finally, as an ex-offensive lineman, would you rather make a Super Bowl winning tackle or block or receive a Super Bowl winning touchdown pass?
Well, since I was basically a lineman my whole life, I can appreciate what linemen do so that somebody can catch that winning touchdown pass. I'll say make the key block for the winning touchdown pass would be something that, that would be a sweet dream for the rest of my life.
Fantastic. Baldy, thank you so much for coming on Seb Talk Sports. I really appreciate your time. Where can people find you on social media and also on the internet?
Thanks, Sebastian. Well, I'm on the NFL Network pretty much daily. I've got a new show out called Film Sessions this week. Kurt Warner and myself are in the film room with Amari Cooper from the Dallas Cowboys. He shows us the tricks of his trade. That's on Saturday night on NFL Network at 8 o'clock in East. You can find me at Baldy NFL on Twitter and on Instagram. And you can follow me, on Facebook. So I'm on all the social media platforms, and they can hit me up at any time. I usually try to respond whenever I can.
Fantastic. I'll make sure to leave all your links below so people can find you.
Thanks, Sebastian.
And there you go. Baldy himself stops by on Seb Talk Sports, one of the very best in the world at what he does, and a brilliant guy. There are many more great guests coming very soon, so stay tuned right here on Seb Talk Sports. And to take us out as usual, here's another great track by David Wilson. Catch you soon, guys.